Good afternoon, and welcome to Extension Horses How to Facebook Live series. My name is Krishona Martinson, and I am the host for this How to series. And with me is my colleague, Dr. Carey Williams from Rutgers University, who is our expert today. And our topic is how to select horse supplements wisely. And I think as horse owners, we all know that this is something that is critically important and a hot topic. And we're so glad that Dr. Williams is able to join us today as our expert. So I have multiple screens. So I have questions. And if you all have questions, you can ask them on the Facebook Live and we'll do our best to answer them. But we also have questions that have been asked previously. And I'm going to just start out. So Dr. Williams, welcome. We tend to have a lot of youth that watch these and are interested in a career in the horse industry. So our first question is, tell us about yourself, your career path, your education, including your current job and responsibilities.
Ooh, that's a long one. Yeah, I'm the extension specialist at Rutgers University. That is the State University of New Jersey. So I work with a lot of horse owners in the state, help them manage their farms, whether it's pasture, manure management, just stable management. But a lot of what I do is nutrition because I'm an equine nutritionist. I got my PhD from Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia, and have been dealing a lot with nutrition of the performance horse pretty much ever since. And a lot of that deals with supplements and supplementation of those horses. So I've been doing that for almost 20 years now. So.
Well, you must have started when you were 10. So,
You're too kind.
yeah. So, and I know personally you are also a horse owner. And I think that's the great thing about extension horses is that we are all horse experts, usually conferred by our positions at a university or a private company with a background in, research-based horse management, whether it be nutrition in your case or forage and agronomy in my case. But we're also horse owners, and I know you are as well. And as we are letting people jump on, I just wanted, tell us about your horses and what you do with them.
Well, I grew up loving horses from an early age, but around the age of 12, I got into pony club. So I was in a small pony club, started doing a lot of dressage, jumping, cross country, eventing. Absolutely loved it when I was a kid. Had a little quarter horse Appaloosa mare Croft, who was my eventer for most of my high school career. When I went to college, I didn't have a horse, so I wasn't allowed to bring one with me to Colorado. I did my undergrad at Colorado State. But then when I was a graduate student, we raised at Virginia Tech, we raised about 40 thoroughbred mares and foals. And then we had an auction for them afterward. Usually the auction consisted of people that wanted to buy race horses, jumpers, eventers, whatever. So I bought one of my research horses. That was 21 years ago, and now she's 22 years old. So I still have my Virginia Tech bred horse named Mickey. And over the years, I've kind of had one or two others with her, and now I have another one. She's an off the track thoroughbred named Pinky. Do mostly dressage now, but still do a little jumping, hunter paces, combined tests, things like that. So just get out and have a lot of fun on top of the dressage competitions that we do.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I think it helps us with being experts in the horse industry, kind of having one foot on both sides really helps us kind of keep a good pulse on what is going on. So one last question before we get into the main topic. So Extension Horses is a collection of really university and private industry horse specialists from across the US. So can you remember way back when, how long have you been a part of Extension Horses?
Way back when is right. So I was just shy of being one of the originals. I'm actually one of the originals on the Horse Quest side of the extension, which went live in 2005. So I was one of those that helped get it live. The only reason why I said I was just shy is because it started as the Southeast Regional Educators Group. And New Jersey isn't quite Southeast, but it started in the Southeast before it went national. So I jumped on as soon as it went national. But again, I'm not quite part of the Southeast. So I think my first meeting was in 2004, January of 2004. And then Horse Quest was one of the communities of practice, which is one of those old terminologies we don't use anymore, that went live in 2005.
Yeah.
Been around.
Well, that's awesome. So we have some questions that we have received previously, and I'm not sure what order to start them in, so I'm just going to start. So obviously, the supplement industry and the horse world is a $1 billion industry. And a lot of horses are on supplements for a variety of reasons. And maybe sometimes including to make their owners feel well, right? Like I fully understand that. So I want to start out with this question. Are there things to look for on a label that can help owners or managers decide if a supplement is really best for their horse? So maybe the first question to add is, what horses really need a supplement? So you can pick and choose whether you want to talk about what comes first, the labeled information or the horse. You can pick which one you want to add, focus on first.
Both of those are good questions. And as you asked the first question, I was like, can I start there? So then I'm glad you added in the second question, because I think you do need to start there. Is, when does a horse really need a supplement? Well, actually, when doesn't it? Because I like to say, if you have a normal horse, and I'm going to put that in quotes, on a well-balanced diet, they really shouldn't need a supplement. But the question always comes up, well, how do I know my diet is balanced? Well, most of horses, granted these normal horses, if they have a really good quality forage and they are needing anything additional to the forage, they would be on a commercial diet. And that commercial diet should have recommendations on the bag, and the owner should feed to the recommendations. So well-balanced diet means good quality forage, feeding based on commercial recommendations for whatever food they're on. Now, then you get into that normal horse. What does that mean? Well, most of our horses aren't normal because they have some sort of problem, some wear and tear, some production, something or other that does require them to be fed above and beyond what is in the forage or on the feed tag. And you're a forage specialist, so you know very well that there are so many different ins and outs of quality forage, and how do we know what's quality and what's in it. And I know this isn't what we're getting into for this topic, but that's really when I have people starting to supplement, because they really don't know for sure what's in their forage or if they're feeding a well-balanced diet. So I know I didn't really answer that question there, but typically if you have a horse at maintenance, let's consider these horses that are the pasture cut out on the farm just hanging out. If they've got pasture, typically, and they're maintaining their weight, typically they really don't need a supplement. Unless you're considering salt a supplement. Because that is one thing. If you consider salt or a salt block a supplement, then yes, every horse needs a supplement. Because all forages, all feeds typically are deficient in salt. So they all should have a salt block or some sort of top dress loose salt something. So let's take that aside. Let's forget that horses even require salt. Typical pasture pack with good quality pasture, good quality forage shouldn't need an additional supplement, meaning vitamins, minerals, protein, any of these nutrients, herbal products, nutraceuticals, anything on top of their diet. Then you can get into these cases, okay, when do we really need a supplement? Well, what about these horses that are competing really intensely? They're really stressed out. They're sweating a lot. Okay, yeah, then electrolytes could be necessary. Maybe an antioxidant like vitamin E or vitamin C for that time of stress as well. And then what about these pregnant mares, these growing horses, lactating horses that might not be on the best quality hay or might not have any legume like an alfalfa available? Then yeah, they might need a supplement as well. Might need to be a protein supplement. What about the selenium deficient soil areas? Okay, they might need selenium. And as you can see, you start to add on all these layers, and I could probably go on forever. But I'll see. What other questions do you have?
So again, I'm not being rude. I'm just looking at my multiple screens for questions. So one person actually, this I didn't even. We probably should have started with this one. One person said, "What what is defined as a supplement? I thought a supplement was something used to increase hair shine or increase hoof growth, not a vitamin and mineral." So I guess maybe we should have started there. Like, how do you define a supplement?
And that is a very good point, because like I started off saying, salt, can you classify it as a supplement? And really, a dietary supplement doesn't have a good definition. It's so broad because the definition is a product that contains one or more of the following: vitamin, mineral,
Hmm.
herb, botanical, amino acid, nutraceutical, and you see where this is going. So really, it could be considered anything above and beyond the forage.
Well,
So
and
that's why we also say concentrate or grain is not considered a supplement in the way we're talking about it.
I guess really, if you think about it, a lot of supplements are made up of kind of common feedstuffs, right?
Absolutely. You have a lot of these supplements that are alfalfa based. They are alfalfa based products. So absolutely, they can be some of those things. Um, and I think, again, the way we need to look at it, at least in terms of, the next few minutes that I spend here with everybody, is going to be something above and beyond their balanced diet, whether that be just forage or forage and a commercial grain ration, or their grain ration, their concentrate, let's call it. So something above and beyond that.
So I think this is great. So we've defined a supplement, like you said, anything above and beyond their basic, nutritive, their basic diet that is needed. You said it much more eloquently than I did. We've talked about what horses need a supplement. And so now let's talk about maybe why and some examples. So there are some questions here and we'll try to get to them, but some of them tend to be very specific to an individual situation or horse. Um, and we'll try to get to those if we have time. So, sorry, there's lots of questions coming, and I lost my train of thought there for a second.
Okay.
Um,
Popular topic.
it is a super popular topic. All right, so let's say we do have let's say we have a performance horse, and we want them, Dr. Williams, to look their best. We are balancing their ration. We're working with an equine nutritionist. But what if we really want to ensure that they have a great shine on their coat? And again, I'm trying to paraphrase some questions. Is there any research that kind of could be shared on what products could maybe make the hair coat look a little bit more shiny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've actually done a lot of research with some of these products, but what it really boils down to is added fat in the diet. And really not just any fat. What they've done the most with is these, really popular omega-3 fatty acids. So a lot of the co-conditioners that you'll see on the market have high levels of these omega-3 fatty acids. They might have some fish oil in it. They might have some flaxseed oil, flax in it, sunflower seed, black sunflower seed. They'll have some sort of fat source in it with high levels of omega-3 fatty acids in it. You'll see anywhere from, you feed a teaspoon of this little oil on top of their feed every day. Personally, for a good performance horse, if you want to give it not just coat shine, but maybe overall condition, meaning, its top line or its ribs, or, it just might not be thrifty enough. And I say that because I have the off the track thoroughbreds that typically aren't this. I love just a general fat supplement like rice bran. Rice bran's great. You don't need, and a lot of the co-conditioners will have rice bran in it, but they have a lot of other things. So, I go to the local feed store and I find my bag, and I'm not going to give any company names here, but, your good old rice bran, stabilized rice bran supplement. And depending on what the horse needs, you can feed half cup up to 2 pounds. I know sometimes my off the track thoroughbreds, especially depending on the hay quality, might need up to 2 pounds of rice bran, and that shines up their coat and puts a really nice condition on them, especially if they're working really intensely, the 5-6 days a week and really training for competition. So.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And kind of another question that kind of goes around that, and you said you had your off the track thoroughbred. So this is a couple people said that they do have these off the track thoroughbreds that they struggle with hoof health. And I know that is just not an off the track thoroughbred issue. I mean, it could be happen if we have really wet or really dry conditions. So are there any supplements that have been shown and proven to really help with hoof health?
And yeah, the hoof supplements too have really been researched quite a lot. They have actually figured out what exactly needs to be in some of these supplements to have the effect that is really needed. And things like, I mean, everybody knows biotin is good for hair, nails, even in us. Well, it's the same with horses. So if you are looking at a hoof supplement and it's a nutritional problem, not just an environmental problem, but you need to find a supplement that has at least 20 milligrams per day of biotin in it. So this is when labels come in, and I know we briefly addressed, well, I didn't address them, but the question came up in terms of labels. So I encourage everyone out there to be an educated buyer and really look at these labels. So, 20 milligrams of biotin at the minimum should be in some of these supplements. Iodine as well. Iodine is essential for thyroid hormones, which help produce all tissues. 1 milligram per day is kind of that bare minimum that should be in some of the supplements as well, along with the biotin. And then things like methionine. Methionine is an amino acid, great for making keratin, which is a good structure of hooves. There's really no defined level of methionine. Just make sure that there's at least some added to it. And then zinc. Zinc is that mineral that really helps control hoof metabolism as well. And anywhere between about 175 and 250 milligrams per day was found it does best in these hoof supplements as well. The problem with these hoof supplements and having these hoof problems is, again, like you mentioned, if there's an environmental cause that goes with it, just changing the nutrition isn't going to help. So you have to make sure that the environmental conditions are right, not too wet, not too dry, these kind of optimal conditions. And you really need to try these supplements for a long period of time, because I'm sure hooves take a really long time to grow. I mean, 8 months at the minimum to grow from the cornet band down, because don't forget, you're feeding the hoof from the inside out. So you really need 8 months to a year on these supplements to decide if they work. And I'm not a very patient person, and that's a long time to wait to see if they do work. But if you're gonna be in it for the long haul and in it for a commitment, definitely find a good supplement first, then give it to them for the long haul, and then take your judgment and use your judgment after that year.
Well, and I want to go back to the labeled question, but we have another question here, and I think it's a good one. So obviously supplements can be overwhelming. Is there any place in particular or any resources that horse owners can use to really read up on supplements, to really become educated about supplements?
Yeah, and there's really not any one source. I mean, there are some books out there and stuff, but I haven't found that there's any really good one source. I would look for, and you can go onto these company websites. The companies that are fly by night or might not list their ingredients. They have proprietary ingredients, or they don't really tell you what blends of herbs or minerals or what's in them. I would look out for that. You can find on a lot of companies, a lot of the really good companies' websites, they will publish their research. They will have summaries of their research or research summaries on their websites. So, research the company before you buy as well. And I know it sounds really time consuming, and everybody nowadays is overwhelmed with everything. But, if you're really going to put in the commitment, I mean, some of these supplements will cost you $50 to $100 a month. So it's worth looking up the company, looking up the ingredients, researching what's been out there. Has it been done in horses? So that's a key thing too, because so much of what's out there may have been done in rodents or humans or dogs or cats. But horses are horses. They're not humans or dogs and cats. And they metabolize things very differently. Let me just give you a very personal example, because we were about 15 years ago contracted by a supplement company, a very good, very well-known, high-quality supplement company, to research a product that is developed. They have this product developed for dogs, cats, and humans, and it's out there. They did the research. It was great research. They have people that were asking them to develop it for horses because they're already using the dog and cat product in their horses. So they're like, let's use it for horses. So they came to me and said, we really want to try this in horses first before we manufacture it. So they sent the product, they sent all the guaranteed analysis that this product had in it, exactly what it had in it. We fed the product with 12 of our horses for 6 weeks long. We did testing on them, all kinds of testing from, blood work to synovial fluid. We looked in the joints, we looked in the muscles. We didn't find any benefits. We didn't find any detriments either, but we found nothing positive that this company could use in their marketing going forward to say that this is beneficial for horses. So while it wasn't necessarily a success, I thought it was a success because the company actually didn't go through with manufacturing this product for horses. So those are the kind of things that, you really need to see. Okay, yeah, it may work in dogs and cats, but that doesn't mean it's good for your horses or it's good for you, et cetera. But again, the good companies are out there and they have the research advertised on the website.
Well, and maybe that's a good segue into the labels, kind of like the websites, right? So going back to that question of what do you look for on a label, it's probably pretty similar in what you look for on a website. So things shouldn't have to be mysterious. Things should be listed. So why don't you just maybe walk through it kind of as a summary, maybe of some of the website things, but maybe just walk through some of the things that you look for on a label as an expert, and deciding whether a supplement is really needed and whether it's beneficial for the horse.
Yeah, so the two main areas that I look at first are going to be what's called the guaranteed analysis. And a guaranteed analysis is something that you find on all food products, even human feeds. It is going to be the percentage of nutrients that are in it. So how much protein, fat, fiber, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, vitamin A, vitamin E. There is no law telling companies exactly what part of the guaranteed analysis needs to be on these labels, especially for supplements. Now, we're not talking about feed here, just supplements. So I like when companies actually give me as much as they can give me. If there's calcium in this product, I want to know how much. Tell me on the label how much calcium is in this product. And then what I'll look at after that, I will look at the ingredients. And the company should have listed in terms of first, second, third, fourth, not the amount of each ingredient, but they should have them listed. So the first ingredient is if it says magnesium chloride, then magnesium chloride is the highest in that supplement or in that product. So you can go through and you can read the ingredient list and see what's in there. A good example of this is these herbal products, these herbal supplements. So a lot of them say proprietary blend. Does that tell me what's in it? Absolutely not. That doesn't tell me at all what is in that product. And it worries me because I've seen herbal products that actually contain not just banned substances in different show organizations, but also toxic products. I've seen toxic things like, and I don't have one off the top of my head, St. John's wort. St. John's wort is in a lot of herbal products. That's actually a toxic weed for horses. So don't know that I would really want to feed that. So if you are feeding something that's a proprietary blend, how do you know what's really in it? Other things like valerian or valerian root. If you have a horse that you're competing in, FEI dressage competitions, and you're feeding a valerian product that's a proprietary blend that doesn't tell you there's valerian in there, you could test positive, and that could ruin a lot more than just your season. So, it's really important that you make sure that the product has the ingredients and the nutrient analysis on there before anything else.
And what a fantastic reminder. I happen to compete in a local association where there really aren't restrictions. So I wouldn't even think about some of these supplements causing positives. I know We did have an issue with a different organization where somebody was adding a caffeinated drink to the horse water to encourage them to drink. And then, of course, that showed up on a positive test and created some problems. So how incredibly important to make sure you know what's in there so you don't have these positive test results.
Yeah, and I really try to hit home every time I talk to people about supplements. It's just be an educated buyer. Don't buy it just because your friend says it's great. Yeah, research it if your friend says it's great, and then decide for yourself. Because one, it might not be appropriate for your horse. It might be great for theirs, but it might not be appropriate for your horse. And you might see something in it that they didn't see, or you might see a red flag that, maybe I need to look at it a little more. And then ask questions, reach out. Dr. Martinson, I'm sure you get an awful lot of questions from people about various things, products, whether it's hay or whatever. But, find your local extension person, extension. I always say extension because, hey, we're free. Send your university extension specialist an email and say, hey, do you know about this? I mean, we help each other, Dr. Martinson, right? All the time, answer questions that we might not know. I get a forage question, I'll send it to you. You get a supplement question, send it to me. So we have a big network of people out there that, we can help address some of these things that, the horse owners might not know.
Yeah, and absolutely. So I think I'll kind of look through some of these questions here. But one thing I think also, in addition to that testing thing, is we do occasionally see horses that are on multiple supplements, and it can lead to toxicity issues with things like selenium. So do you maybe just want to talk about the importance of, well, just the importance of it if you're giving a horse multiple supplements to truly understand what you're doing?
Oh, that's such a great question. And that leads also back to being an educated buyer and looking at your supplements and your ingredients. So if you have 4 supplements and 3 of them have magnesium in it, if you only had one magnesium supplement, it would probably be okay. Magnesium supplements. So an example of those are these calming aids or these calming products. Many of the calming supplements have magnesium in it. So if you have that, but you also have a supplement that's going to cover all the bases because you're not sure if your hay is very good, you're going to have magnesium in that too. And then you might have another product. Some of the Hoof products also have magnesium in it. So now you're starting to stack all of these magnesium supplements on top of one another. And yeah, magnesium isn't toxic at low levels, but by the time you add it onto a hay that you don't know how much magnesium is in it, the commercial feed that is already balanced and has magnesium in it, and 3 or 4 different supplements with magnesium in it, you're probably approaching that potentially toxic or at least concerning level. Some other things like that are vitamin A. Vitamin A is one of the vitamins, fat-soluble vitamin, that can be toxic if you stack multiple supplements on top of it. And then that's not even to mention things like selenium, which is very toxic. And even sometimes if you have one supplement on top of a hay that's grown in an area that has high levels of selenium, you're already toxic. So again, and I know everyone's probably going to get really sick of me saying be an educated buyer. Just look at your product, look at your ingredients and see what's in it all. Because I know it's so easy out there now to just pick, I've got a hoof supplement, a calming supplement. I need one that just kind of covers all the bases. And then, oh, my horse has, ulcers, so now I need a digestive product as well. Once you start stacking a lot of things, you're looking for problems, especially within the vitamin mineral areas.
All right, there, just excellent advice. So we have a couple questions about diseases, and I don't know if we know this answer, but some people are saying that there are supplements that are promoted to help with diseases like equine metabolic syndrome and laminitis. Do any of those supplements really hold weight, and is there research to back their claims?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you used those 2 as examples because those were going to be the examples I was going to use. I've actually not seen any research on the metabolic-based laminitis preventing type supplements. And I know there's a lot of those types of products out there, and they have all things like whatever, papaya, cinnamon, all these, fenugreek herbs and things like that that have the claims that they help with laminitis. high levels of chromium, bitter melon, resveratrol. All of these things, well, especially, and actually I bring up resveratrol, that has been, researched a lot by itself and at very high levels. But a lot of these metabolic supplements have traces of all of these things in them so that they can put it on their label that it contains resveratrol that is supposed to cure X, Y, and Z. Well, when you look at the research and they're using 10 times or even 50 times the amount that's actually in the supplement, there's another problem. But again, back to these laminitis supplements, I have never seen any of these have the research that backs the claims that they will actually prevent laminitis or help with metabolic syndrome. Instead, things like that, you really need to look at the total diet, because then you're looking at the soluble carbohydrates, the sugars, the starches, things like that in the diet. And I would be more concerned about those overall ingredients than I would a small supplement where you're feeding a tiny little scoop and it has, a fraction of some of the antioxidants that are needed. Just as an example.
Well, and what a fantastic reminder that you really need to know the amounts that cause a difference, right? So say you need 100 milligrams of something and your supplement has one and you're feeding a little scoop, there's no way you're going to achieve the desired results. So the follow-up question is, where can you find some of these general values? I know where you and I can find them. Somebody might not want that kind of reading, but maybe, where can the average horse owner who isn't at a university find some of these and find some of these values? Or maybe it's the same place we look.
Really, there is no one good place. Like, we use the nutrient requirements for horses. We call it our NRC. And it has the recommended amounts for horses for protein, calcium, phosphorus, energy, etc. But does it have the recommended amounts for horses with osteochondrosis or osteoarthritis or, metabolic syndrome? And, really, the place that we both have to go are multiple research articles, or if we're lucky, we get a review article, and the review article or the chapter in a veterinary manual might have some of those values. But really, in terms of a lay horse owner, and, there's 150 billion websites out there, and they all say something different. And yeah, which ones do you trust and who do you trust? And, so unfortunately, there isn't really a good answer other than to, contact a nutritionist. Make them do the work for you. Call one of us, call an extension person again to see if they might know first, or they have someone that they know might know. There are a lot of independent nutritionists out there, consulting nutritionists. They can find out as well. Any company. You can call Purina directly and you can say, I need to talk to a nutritionist. They will put you in contact with a nutritionist. Even if it's not about one of their products, they're a nutritionist, and I know all of them. I know all the feed companies, nutritionists. They should be happy to help you because they're behind their customer service, they're behind their product. And again, even if you aren't asking about their product, but just have a general question, even if they can't help you, they should be able to direct you to the right area. And I know it seems like a game of fishing, but believe me, I've done an awful lot of fishing for a lot of these same things. And I'm sorry, I really wish there was a better answer to that.
No, I think that's a great recommendation. I think, if I always say that if horse owners are feeding a grain product, there's a phone number on that bag. Call that number, because like you said, we all know they're equine nutritionists and they are wonderful people to work with, and it's a fantastic place to start. And they will have some of these values. And I know, Dr. Williams, you did write the review article on supplements. And there's also Google Scholar will get you a little ways too with some of those open access journal articles. But we're running out of time. And we've had a few questions on joint health. I do think there's quite a few supplements that kind of focus on joint health. And you had mentioned a few of the, diseases, disorders that kind of go along with that. But are there just some general things? And a lot of people are just hoping to prolong their horse's, productive life. So they're not in a stage of disease, but they're just wanting to really promote joint health.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought this one up because that was going to be one of my second example for disease processes, because joint supplements is probably the most researched disease out there, or disease process, and the most researched supplement. And in this case, I will tell everybody out there, in terms of joint products, you get what you pay for. In terms of good quality ingredients and having the levels that you need, you're going to pay a lot of money for them. Guaranteed. Don't skimp. Don't buy the cheap one. Because typically, and actually there was a research article quite a while ago that looked at like 10 or 20 different joint products. They did the analysis themselves for levels of chondroitin sulfate, glucosamine, et cetera, these products that were in them. And really only 2 of the 20 supplements they looked at came out with having the levels of the ingredients in it that the company said were in it. So, I mean, that's what you get with, quality control as well. So, I mean, back to the ingredients, chondroitin sulfate should be in it. Glucosamine should be in it. And kind of the higher the better. I mean, really, both of those, you need fairly high levels. The question marks come with MSM. It's a sulfur component. It's in all the human products because it's found that if the humans actually need the MSM in the product to help increase the absorption of the chondroitin sulfate and glucosamine. We've never seen that really be the case in horses. So if that isn't in the product, I wouldn't worry about it quite so much. But then there's a lot of other things, these hyaluronic acid products. I haven't really seen a whole lot of research on those. And I'm a little worried if you're feeding an oral HA supplement, the molecule is massive. It's huge. I have no idea how it's getting through the gut wall. Because, the theory, maybe it breaks itself down and then it reassembles. But, I mean, the research is kind of a little slim on that. The really fun thing, and I love this research, a lot of this was done actually at Colorado State University. They've done a lot of research on these ASUs, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation because I always do. Avocado soybean unsaponifiable. I think I might have actually said it right. Yeah, ASU. So there are several products out there that now have these ASUs in it, and it's basically the fraction of oil that comes from these products. And there is some really good evidence that these will decrease inflammation in the joint and actually help with cartilage maturation. So, again, look for the research. Look for these products to have some fairly high levels. Do they prevent osteoarthritis? If you give it to your 2-year-old horse, by the time it's 20, will it never have arthritis? I'm not sure that we can really say that yet. I know it makes people feel better. You as the owner, not you as the supplementee, but the owners tend to feel better if they have their horses on these products. But I haven't really seen the research showing that they're preventative. Granted, they might be anti-inflammatory. So, if you're feeding these and they're anti-inflammatory, could they be preventative? Yeah, possibly. I feel better feeding them to horses with osteoarthritis and actually seeing the effect. You should be able to see that they warm up better, that they walk out of the stall easier, that they're just happier. They're a little friskier when they go out on a cold morning. Use your knowledge about your own horse to make that decision. That was a really long answer.
No, that was awesome. A lot of people just saying, thank you for all your information and all that you do. So, Dr. Williams, as we're running out of time here, and again, we could continue talking forever, right? And
I love this topic.
I know. Do you have any kind of just closing recommendations about supplements in general, and really our topic of choosing supplements wisely, which I think we've covered well? Just any kind of last closing remarks.
And I think it circles back around to be an educated buyer. Just really do your research. Ask around. We get questions all the time. Have you ever heard of this? If I haven't heard of it, I'm going to go do my research and look at the company, look at the ingredients, look at the amount. I spend a lot of time doing that. And, beneficial for you to do that as well before you give it to your horses. And really, I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, and I think just to, kind of summarize some of the wonderful things that you've said is, whether it's a website or a label, hopefully label, the label needs to have that guaranteed analysis and list what is in there. Number one, you need to ensure that you're not reaching toxic levels of something. But also you need to make sure that if you're showing in whatever discipline, that you're not going to test accidentally positive for something. We just had people saying thank you for talking about joint health. I think that was a big one. So other than that, again, be an educated buyer. Sometimes you do get what you pay for, and there are resources out there, whether it's Google Scholar, the company websites, or even extension horse specialists or nutritionists at different feed companies. It's a small group, right? We all know each other. We have some of the same educational requirements or degrees, and it does really help. So, all right. So just people saying thank you. I don't really see any other kind of broad spectrum questions that we didn't answer. So with that, Dr. Williams, I just want to thank you so much for joining us. And as a reminder, this is a monthly how-to session. So each month we have a different topic that we will be presenting on our Facebook Live. So Dr. Williams, thanks again.
Thank you, everybody.